Podcast. Yeah.
Right, before we get started with this episode, I should let you know that it was recorded a couple of months back, so some of the references may appear a little dated. But anyway, I'm sure it won't spoil your enjoyment, and here's Smiley.
Hello, clangers. Welcome to another fascinating edition of Clang the Podcast number, because we're putting them in different orders, depending how good they are. That's not true, but it could be. So make sure this is a good one. I'd like to introduce a very dear friend of mine who I've worked with for the last on and off for 20 years. Is that long? He's a bass player, which could be annoying with these two. So if it starts to get too bass heavy, I'm going to make this sign, all right, and then we'll reach there. He is primarily known as the right-hand man to the legendary Amy Winehouse, and to the point where when I actually met Amy Winehouse, she called him my Dale. So he is obviously Mr. Dale Davis, everybody. Woo! Oh, Dale, you've been on Pete's hit list from like day one. When we first sat in the pub and went, let's do a podcast, who can we get on?
Well, Dale?
Yeah,
Dale.
Literally, can we get Dale Davis on? Like, yes, we can. How are you, DD?
Yeah, good. I mean, I've only seen one of your podcasts, and I don't think it's going to live up to Griffiths.
No one will live up to Griffiths. What the fuck was that all about?
That was one of the funniest podcasts I have ever heard.
He's a force of nature, man.
Yeah,
he's like that all the time. He's amazing.
Yeah,
So,
It's interesting. A mate of mine texted me yesterday, actually, about that, and he said because apparently, so I found out Griff used to run a mirror shop. He used to run a shop called Interesting Mirrors, and my mate used to buy off him. And he said, he texted me back. And he went, bloody hell, he can still talk, can't he?
Yeah, he certainly can. This is also, gentlemen, probably the only time in the next year you'll see Chelsea, Man City, and Arsenal next to each other. Yeah. All right. Because I think
you
two will be side by side for the rest of the season. I think I'm going to be wallowing in the depths.
Well, I won't go into it too much, but from the way I'm looking at it, it definitely looks like Man City are on top. But then we haven't been fined yet, so
I've got my money on Arsenal this year.
I think City will get away with it. I keep saying this.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. Oh, 1,000,000%.
Well, my latest theory is that the FA will let us off if we do a reduced price deal on letting Pep Guardiola go to manage England.
That's not a bad shout.
You won't be anything like that. I mean, they're going to find. I knew that they'd try and find stuff on the FA and the Premier League and stuff. So, and they can afford to take them on.
Well, you must be celebrating, Dale, because of finally getting rid of Gareth Southgate. Because I've never known a man hate another man as much as you. When we were playing with Offworld and Rich Archer and Wolves and stuff. It was like a weekly thing that you were just going to this tirade about Southgate, and you had this real. How did you get through the Euros without smashing your telly, man?
Well, I knew he wasn't going to win. Look, the thing is, it's a big problem in England because you haven't had you don't have English winning managers. So you haven't had a manager who's won the Premier League. You haven't had an English manager who's won the league for over 30 years. You've only had 6 winning managers, I think, 6 or 7 winning managers since Alf Ramsey. And so if you don't know how to win, you're not going to win. The only person qualified for this job right now is Lee Carsley. And he's the only Englishman with a winner's medal as a manager.
I think he'll get it as well, because he's the obvious thing. Give it to him for a year and see how he does before the important stuff starts, like the World Cup. Give him a chance. There's no point in parachuting somebody in now. They might as well give him a chance and then see what happens. See who's been sacked by Christmas.
I don't think you should have a foreigner because I don't think it'll work. I don't think, and winning trophies doesn't guarantee you to win at national level, but at least when you get into that position, you've got a chance of winning. Southgate's never won he's only won a League Cup in his whole career as a player and a manager, and then he's expected to take England on to the final. And he comes up against managers who've won stuff, and they just know how to psych him out.
Yeah. That winning mentality, that edgy stuff that Arteta hasn't got yet, but he might have.
It's the same. And, and he employs Harry Kane, who's won nothing, as his captain. So you got no...
and injured. Well,
Yeah.
apart from that, it was a brilliant decision. Yeah. We could do an hour on the Euros. Maybe we should do a Euros special.
We should do. I got cut off from Talk Sport when I Jason cut me off.
I would have put you up as a guest throughout the Euros. Can I ask a question? Is it an Amy Winehouse day today?
Yeah, it's the anniversary of her death. Her passing,
It's what?
Yeah. The anniversary of her passing 15 years ago. Oh, no, 13 years ago, sorry. No,
Okay.
13, yeah. 2000.
Yeah. I saw a few pictures. You put one up, and Troy put one up, and it was all the connections. And I didn't know what the day was for.
It would stay all those years ago.
There you go. So you two being bass players, Pete, you came to see Dale play with me, didn't you?
I did.
Offworld.
I did.
Is that when you met?
No. I've now. So I met you. Well, I virtually met you because we were being really geeky. We're both now former owners of WoW bases.
Yes, that's right.
And
well,
we were in.
It's in the shop yet. No one's buying it, so I don't actually need to sell it. I might just take it back and.
Well,
That's not a great endorsement, is it? Really?
I did.
They are fantastic. They are fantastic bases, you know.
Yeah, and I did sell mine for an undisclosed fee.
And you can sell it to. Was it Ian Allison? Did you say?
It is. Yeah. No, so that's getting very, and hopefully we'll get him on here at some point because he's an interesting character.
Yeah,
but yeah, no. So the reason we ended up connecting was that I was in that group and posted a picture of me playing my WoW in Sunshine Corner Studio.
That's right.
And Dale went, "Is that Sunshine Corner?"
I did.
He's a veteran. He's a veteran of the studio.
Your WoW's the flashy WoW 2 pickup. I only got the 1 pickup. And there's a story behind that because I was working in the bank at the time of my first full-time job. And after a month, they weren't paying me the money that I was supposed to get because of my qualifications. I got very resentful of the fact of the bank. And after 6 months, they decided to release me because I had bad attitude and wasn't interested. And I was only saving up to get money for a base, and I wouldn't have earned it if I'd stayed there for a couple of years or so. But with the severance money, it gave me enough to buy a WoW and an amp.
And then, wow, what a career! You see what I did there? Now, obviously, as the other thing, Dale, before we kind of ear into Amy and A-listers and all that, you're one of the celebrated group of archive bass players, of which there are many.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I am the luckiest drummer in the world, man, because the list of bass players I've had the luck of playing with, especially in archive, is just off the scale.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a great band, isn't it? I mean, I had a great time.
Amazing.
It's a massive sound, and I'm a big fan of you, Darius and Darren. I forgot his name. Dan and Darius. So
Yeah. Well, I remember clearly, right? Because this has got to be. I don't know. You'll probably put me right here. This has got to be kind of nearing on 20 years ago.
It's 2006, yeah. So
because I clearly remember we did a really successful tour. You were playing bass. It was all going really well, and we were sitting on the tour bus. And I think Darius was talking about the next series of archive dates, and you sat there. You just went, "Oh, I won't be able to do it." And we all went, "What do you mean?" You went, "Oh, I'm doing this girl singer." And we were like, "Who?" And you went, "Oh, Amy Winehouse." And we were like that. Are you mad? What, a jazzy bird? What, you're going to give up the mighty archive for her? Are you mental? Yeah, and then you kind of stuck by your guns. Well done.
Well, I mean, at the time, I was still the musical director and band leader then. So, and it was really weird because I'd done the summer with you, and then 2 days before the end of the tour, she called me up. Management called up to say, come and have a meeting. But I'd already decided not to do it because Theo wasn't even 2 yet. And Ali, my ex, she was going to start work. So I thought, okay, I better take some time out and look after Theo because it was important that she kept a job. But at that point, Amy phoned and it turned out to be a very, very busy period.
And was Back to Bedlam, was that recorded then? Or was that, because that was before that, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was recorded that summer.
Right.
On the road, yeah.
Because I know you're in the video. Are you on the record?
not on the main album. When they re-released deluxe version, they put
Yeah. But from that point, you were the MD, weren't you? Right.
Before when I was at the end of Frank, I did that. I was the MD then, but only at the end, at the very end of the Frank period.
Amazing. So, from a Clang perspective, and from that perspective of standing next to one of the most famous women in music history, what was your biggest Clang?
I don't know really. It's just if I hung around with Amy, then I'd bump into all sorts of people.
That's why I'm asking.
It was the time when we did the MTV Music Awards in LA, and Bruce Willis came in and introduced the band. And when it's funny because I was outside having a cigarette, and he came in, and the security said, Bruce Willis said, "Yeah, I'm coming in." They said, "Can we see your ID?"
Did he have a white vest and it came through the ceiling?
So,
you PKA, motherfucker!
He's gracious about it, he showed his ID and stuff. But I mean, I've met some Quentin Tarantino. She, and there was Nicole Scherzinger. There was loads of people who were massively into Amy.
Yeah.
Thing. She worked with the Stones. She worked with Prince.
Yeah. Did you meet Prince?
No, I didn't. I didn't meet. He covered Love Is a Losing Game, and George Michael did as well.
Yeah. She was one of those few who all the big people wanted to be connect with, didn't they? They don't come around very often, those ones.
No.
I can only equate it to the Strummer thing, as I've said before, where when we did festivals and stuff, the real A-listers wanted to see Strummer. It was like they were fanboys and everything. Yeah. And
it's interesting because I think Amy had that same approach, that old school attitude. Just get up and do it. I don't need in-ears. I don't need paraphernalia to do this, that, there. Just give me a mic and a guitar, and then she was off.
Amazing. I could talk about her for hours. I just primarily to get you two off the bass subject, really.
Yeah, because the sort of we're going to go down that, because actually, when I met you, Dale, when I met you after the Off-World gig, I seem to remember you telling me a story, because you did the Paul Young gig for a while, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I've done that on and off for since 1994.
Yeah,
so it's 30 years now. But I did it constantly for 5 years, from 94 to 99, I think it was.
And we were so immature, Pete. We were so immature in off-world rehearsals that before we started every week, we would go, "Oh, go on, Dale," and he would go, "Do do do."
This is the point. Now, Dale,
So
I remember you telling me that you had the legendary Pino come to see you before you went on stage, and he left you in a bit of a state, didn't he?
So the story goes, we were playing with Paul Young at the Frimley Club, where they do, the Frimley Club just down the road from you, where they do the darts.
Yeah, Lakeside,
that's it, Frimley Lakeside. So we're sound checking, we finish sound check, and then suddenly Pino comes in with Tony O'Malley as the support band, and I go, "What the fuck?" So anyway, we're all backstage, and I'm being a real pain in the ass to Pino. I said, "Pino, I know you can play guitar. Can you play guitar?" He picks up his guitar and he just strummed this chord. To this day, I have no idea what the chord was. It's so beautiful, so beautifully played, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but Pino does like a smoke, So and so do I. So he rolled me a joint, and we smoked, and pretty strong stuff. And the first thing I had to do after smoking the joint was go and play Wherever I Lay My Hat. So I remember Pino saying that, your bass my amp was quite loud on stage, so obviously it's just the way you are. Everyone's got a different preference. So I played that, and I was nervous for the whole gig, and then I discovered that they left after 5 minutes because
that's showbiz.
Well, the reason apparently was that the they weren't dressed accordingly to stay and watch. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that was, I mean, how do you, that is just that line, that wherever I lay my hat is such an iconic line. I mean, arguably completely changed the face of bass playing. How the hell do you play that in front of the bloke who played it?
Well,
or wrote it?
Yeah, but then, I mean, there was a point where I was just doing Pino gigs, so he
Oh, really?
a record, and there was 3 artists I was working with at one point, and Pino had done all the bass on all their stuff. So
for the unknown out there, the uninitiated, we're talking about Pino Palladino, who is probably one of the greatest English bass players of all time, and he's probably is in. I guarantee any of you at home go through your record collection, and he is on some of those songs. He played on everything in the 80s.
He did. He's Welsh as well, so you better watch.
No reason to hate him.
But he's a lovely guy, though. When I see him, I'm always a pain. I've met him like a handful of times, and I'm always such a pain in the ass to him. So
fanboy.
Yeah, but he's a great player, and massive influence on my career.
Yeah. Talking of brilliant bass players, Norman Cook.
Yes.
Did you see Glastonbury?
I think. Yeah.
When he got up and played with Paul Heaton and did Happy Hour.
Yeah.
That made me so happy. That was the sweetest thing, because I love the House Martins. Yeah. You were in Freak Power, weren't you, with Norman?
And Beats International.
And Beats International.
That's how I got the gig first.
Do.
Yes.
You basically played all the best bass lines ever.
Yeah, so I did that for 6 months, and then it turned into Freak Power. So,
right.
It's a long story, but I got a call. The drummer from Beats International used to play. Ashley Slater, who was the other person in Freak Power, the trombone player. He had his own band called Microgroove, and it was like a jazz funk fusion band. And Norman Cook used them as the backing band for Beats International.
Right.
And this is how I got my break, because the bass player couldn't do it. He was going on holiday, and the drummer, who was Shane Meehan, I don't know if you know Shane Meehan. His dad was Tony Meehan from the Shallows. So he spent 3 weeks trying to chase me, and it was in the days before mobile phone. And somehow he got hold of my home phone, said, "Do you want to come on tour? The bass player's going on holiday." I went, "Yeah, okay, I'm there." So I got given a tape, and learned everything in a 2-week period. Had no rehearsal, and went and did the gig. But and they asked me to stay on. They said, "Look, do you mind doing this?" I said, "Well, someone else is doing it again." They said, "No, we want you to do it." But it's a weird thing, because I remember, I spent a lot of time in the late 80s going to raves and clubs like that, and that's how I learned my music. I stopped going down the pub and wanted to learn all the new styles of music that was coming up. So it's a rave scene with the acid house, the garage, the drum and bass and all that. So I was heavily into that. And so I remember going to a night that Norman was doing down at Central London Poly, and the music he played was everything that I was into. So by the time I'd met Norman, we were on the same tip. Out of all the people in the band, me and him were the ones who were, into the same sort of break beats and all that style of music.
But that was before Fatboy Slim, wasn't it? Beats International.
Yeah, no, Freak Power just before Fatboy Slim. He was doing Fatboy Slim while.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. He was always. I mean, he was. After he left the House Martins, he was doing a lot of remixes. He was caning the remixes. He was doing very well on that, and then. So he's Norman's an incredible character, because I remember when we played Ronnie Scott's, he said, "I'm going to be the worst guitarist that's ever played at Ronnie Scott's." but I really like Norman, because, he's like a human jukebox on the guitar. He just always got the riff going with the songs, and then just got that conviction. He can, I've never seen anyone work hard and play hard as him. And he's very prolific in his output.
I love him, man. I love him. I had the pleasure of going to his house, the one in Brighton on the beach.
Yeah.
Because he's got 3, isn't he? And he rents one out, and he rented it out to my mate Shaggy, funny enough. And through a series of, he's like, "Yeah, I'm living in Norman Cook's house." I was like, not the house. He was like, yeah. I was like, I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we went on the roof. It's got a massive smiley face on the roof and everything. It's amazing.
Yes, there you go. So,
But his studio's in that house, the original. It's like a museum. It's all old Ataris and all the tapes are there and everything.
Well, so so we recorded the album, the Freak Power album, in the studio. So that must have been his studio. I wasn't aware of that at the time. But
it's like a museum. It's amazing. Like you couldn't use it now. It's all like old Ataris and like old computers and samplers and stuff like that. But I really felt like I was in a special place, like where the magic had been created. You can just, something about it was the same as when I sat in Steve Coogan's chair in his office and thought he wrote Alan Partridge in this chair, and I was like that. Oh, just because I could,
Yeah, well, I'm a big fan of Norman's, really. So I haven't seen him for probably 30 years, but I do like him.
I'm sure it'd be like you saw him yesterday. You know what I mean? It'd be like the Off-World reunion. You might struggle to remember their names. It's all right, because we got a WhatsApp group, so we're always talking. We're fine.
Yes.
I saw them the other day. They send their love.
Yeah, good. I mean, I haven't got down that way for a long time, but
No, we're missing you, man. You're not in the gang anymore. You don't come for the Stains nights out.
Yeah, well, I'll get down there at some point.
Yeah, you should, man. Right, Pete, you've got full permission to ask him a bass player question. Go on.
No. I was actually gonna bring it back on a bit more of a clang track, actually, because even there's a limit to how much bass I can talk, actually. But I was gonna out of all those times you've met famous people with with Paul, with Amy, whoever, what's the most embarrassing experience you've had? Have you had one where you've just you've just completely put your foot in it? Not with Pino.
Well, that would have been embarrassing for him to watch. Embarrassing for me. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure. I wouldn't. I don't know. When I was young, I probably made loads of mistakes and clang, horrible things that have left me thinking, why have I done that? Why did I say that? But I can't think of anything. Someone will probably come in and say, yeah, Dave, you did this, and I won't remember. But I don't think so. Because when I was younger in this business, I didn't necessarily go chasing, some people, they like to go network famous people. So I'd always be the last one that people would talk to, or I was like a straggler at the end. When you've had about 15 pints, and people would come up and talk to me.
The last man standing.
But then as I got older, I remember doing this thing called The Night of the Proms, and Lisa Stanfield, she was my age, and it was the first time I'd had like an artist in my hotel room hanging out, and then after that, you started to get younger people. You started to work with younger people, and they'd hang out more. And then you become the older person, and then everyone starts hanging out with you. So you see what I mean? So I was never really a clang chaser.
Yeah, no, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I can name a few if you want. No, I'm not going to. I have got a question for you, and I don't know whether how much you can be cards on the table with this story, and I've heard it via a few people, so you've got to tell me whether this is true. How close were you to writing a Bond theme?
Yeah, the music was written, but Amy never came to sing the song. I don't think it was a difficult time, with her. I don't necessarily. She just won the Grammy. She'd had a heavy schedule. Blake had gone to prison, and she wanted to do the track her way. But I think I know with the Bond theme tunes, there's certain criteria that you have to stick to, and Amy just wasn't ready to do that. So it's just one of those unfortunate things. But
that was you and Mark Ronson, right? And her.
Well, no, I was in the studio with Mark, and we put the tune together, and then the Dap Kings went and recorded it. I actually played a bit of auto harp on it, and then but there was never a vocal line, which is totally fine.
That's close. I just think
I love the fact. Actually, I love the fact you've just said, "Oh, I've never been a particular clang chaser," and then I was just in the studio with Mark Ronson.
And the Bond theme that never came out. I just think it's such an iconic thing. But if you're a musician and someone gave you like 3 wishes and said you can do 3 things in your life as a musician, I think to be on a Bond theme was pretty high up there. I would have thought.
Yeah, it depends. I'm not necessarily a massive Bond fan. I mean, I used to watch a lot as a kid, but it's not something, so it's like, probably it's like someone offering me an MBE, I'm going to turn it down, so that's not that's ever going to happen.
So did you? So you talk, obviously. So we've just you've just dropped a nice. So you just dropped a nice little Mark Ronson in there. I mean, is there anyone? Have you met anyone when you've been completely kind of like awestruck by them? Just I suppose, yeah.
Yes, when I first joined the Freak Power, John Jappanel from the Stranglers, which you must know well.
Well, we just oddly yesterday we interviewed the singer. But anyway, let him finish.
Go on.
Yeah. So I just joined Freak Power, and I think 6 months later we ended up going to Cannes to try and promote the album. And Norman knew John Jappanel, so we were sitting in this restaurant in the south of France in Cannes. And after a while, I didn't say much to him because I was just in awe, and I thought, okay, I was sitting in with John Jappanel. And I was just in awe, so I didn't say much to him. But then a few months later, when the album came out, this is even more weird. There was 2 girls who used to hang around with us, and they said, "Come to Hugh Cornwall's party." So we went, okay. So we went along to Hugh Cornwall's party in London, and so we were there at Hugh Cornwall's house, and these 2 girls, they were playing the Freak Power album over and over again. And I'm thinking, this is quite strange. I mean, Hugh Cornwall's house, listening. There was a few people there. Nigel Planer was there. A few other people there who were, and it was just a surreal night for me. But it's a beautiful thing because I was a massive fan of the Stranglers. So
all of you bass players are. I think if there's a bass player out there who doesn't cite JJ as an influence, then I don't think you're a real bass player.
Yeah, and also, I mean, like the intro to Noble Heroes is you can't beat that. Everyone goes on about famous bass intros. Nothing can beat that intro.
When I had the pleasure of hanging out with them and rehearsing with them, I did it. So I went out for dinner with them the night before and sat opposite JJ, and he's a dude, isn't he? But you do feel like you're watching what you say a little bit, because he can go from quite funny to quite deadly serious. And I was making a joke, and I what was it I said? I think we were talking about Bruce Foxton and me having played from the Jam, and I said, yeah, if you ever want to do From the Stranglers, I'm your man, right? And I thought it was really funny, right? And he just shut down. He's just like, can I have some more wine, please? And I was like, oh no! Plus, he could kill me. He's
a martial arts expert, isn't he? So
yeah. So that was the other thing. But then the following day was the first rehearsal, and that's what he did, because when he sat, he looked at me, he went, right. He goes, well, we might as well start with a few you might know, and he just went, and there was this pause where I was like, I am currently the coolest person in the world, and off we went, and it was a moment, man. There are these enigmatic players. If we're talking along the bass thing, as even you guys get a little bit starstruck by your Pinos and your JJs and your Foxtons and stuff, because they are proper bona fide legends, aren't they?
You grew up listening. When I met John Entwistle, he signed my plaster cast and everything. I've still got it somewhere.
Wow. Yeah. There you go. If we're going to put this out as Dale Davis, the bass special, these are the people we should talk about. Man.
So when did you meet the Ox then?
Well, I went on a bass weekend. That's a funny story in itself, because I was due to go skiing that weekend that they had a bass weekend, and I went to London after I'd booked the skiing holiday, and at the bass end, and they said, we've got this bass weekend going on at the end of March. I went, oh shit! I said to people, I'm really gutted, but I'm going to be coming back from the skiing holiday. And on the last run of my practice session at Bracknell on the old dry slope, I come really down, and I have a crash and end up breaking my wrist.
No.
So I thought, okay. So I phoned the bass centre the following day. I said, have you got any spaces left on the bass weekend? And I went up there, and it was like a lucky break because it was just full of bass players. I had my plaster cast carrying my, you know, and
Could your fingers still move, but your hand wouldn't?
you could still play, So like that, I'd end up, and then I took my fretless up there, and off I went, and there was loads back. Pino was there, Jonas Hellborg, John Entwistle. I can't remember who. There was a few other great bass players.
All the archive bass players, probably.
Yeah, well, we weren't old enough then, but it was fantastic. But it was life changing. So I always consider that lucky break on the dry slope to be
lucky break. See what we did there? Lucky break.
So,
obviously, Dale, the other lucky break, or shall I say the unlucky break, is you famously severed your Achilles a couple of hours before playing the main stage of Glastonbury, right?
No. So it's the other way round. That's another funny story in itself. So we were at the Isle of Wight Festival. We just finished our set. In fact, that's another story as well. Donovan was on before us, and I waited for Donovan to come off stage. And I said, Donovan, you won't believe this, but I worked with Amy Winehouse. But the first ever concert I saw was you at the Hexham. But I got the years wrong. I thought it was 1974. He went, no. It turned out it was 1978. Anyway, that particular concert that I went to see, this is another sidetrack, but Danny Thompson was playing double bass, and he blew my mind. He got me into the bass. So I know Pino said the same thing, that when he watched Danny Thompson, that it got him into the bass. Danny Thompson got me into the bass, and that's one person I'd love to meet to say thanks, for getting me into the bass. But then we did the gig, and I'm quite sporty, aren't I? And the band were playing.
He loves a kickabout, ladies and gentlemen. He loves a kickabout.
Well, no, but we in the Amy band we play anything. We play. So the horn players were into cricket, so we brought some stumps. We had 6 pairs of we had 6 pairs playing against each other. So you're going to get 2 overs each, and you just have to score as many runs. So I went in with this guy Paul Franklin, who works at he's one of the promoters. So I thought, I'm just going to run the hell out of everything. So I was quite quick at the time, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to run. So as soon as he knocks ball, I'm going to run. And on the second over, I'm running back for the third ball, and I hear this snap. But people, like when you snap your Achilles, people can hear it, So I've witnessed one person snap it, and people were hearing it. I went down, and didn't realise I'd snapped my Achilles, so I carried on umpiring. I tried to bowl, and I couldn't bowl, and just stood there.
Just about to do that.
Yeah. And then, so I went to the tent, to the hospital tent, and the doctor turned up. He said, "Go and stand on your heel. Go and stand on your tiptoe on your right leg." And I couldn't do it. He said, "You've snapped your Achilles." And okay, he said, "How old are you?" I said, 41. He said, "Yeah, that's a common age for it." So he said, "This is really fortunate, but we've been doing this festival for 28 years, and this is the first time we brought plaster of Paris." And they put the plaster on me, and off I went. And
they plastered you up at the festival?
Yes.
Wow.
And I was on crutches, and the first person I saw when I came out of the tent was Declan. You know Declan from Muse, and who worked with Archive?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I saw.
Des, you mean? Des.
Yeah, sorry, Des, yeah. He said, "What have you done?" And I said, "Well, just snapped my Achilles." Yeah, Des, yeah, that's it, yeah.
Irish Des.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, so it was very bizarre. And I remember going back, and people just thought, "What have you done?" And it only dawned on me what happened the following day. So when I got home and went to go and try and do something, like make a cup of tea, I thought, I can't stand up. I can't do anything. So I did the whole tour for the rest of the summer on crutches, because I was absolutely useless at home, and I had the option of getting stitched up or just let it heal naturally. So I thought I'd take the option of letting it heal naturally. So 2 days later, I had to go to London. I had my little Hofner, and I just got the Hofners at the time, and they're so light, it means that you could just put it on your back and you can play. I remember having to go do the parking show on the Monday. So I went up there on my own, on crutches, to do the parking show. And then the following weekend, I had to go and do Glastonbury, and I had to do 2 shows that day. One at the Jazz World tent in the afternoon with Amy, and then one on the Pimmer's stage in the evening. And the weather was so bad that when I put my stick in the mud, I I'd just go
No.
that, and I had to be carried on stage and everything. And that's the hardest day physically I've ever had to endure, because it was really demanding doing 2 gigs on crutches, and I was physically knackered. And I don't normally get knackered like that, but I did the rest of the summer on crutches, and people phone me up and say, "Why are you sitting down, Dale?"
Yeah.
Like sitting down, but I said, "Well, it's not my Achilles," And I put the put a black sock over it so you didn't know
Right.
that I'd done it.
I think I asked you why you were sitting down. I was messing
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
Bit lazy.
That was
Yeah.
it.
Bit lazy on the pyramid stage to 100,000 people.
Mind you, there can't be that many people that can claim to have been carried on to the pyramid stage at Glastonbury.
Well, there you go. That's me. Yeah, along with Cleopatra, that's me.
There you go. I remember, like, if we're going down the kind of quirky Dale Davisms, when we were recording once, I don't think I've even told you this, Pete. When we were recording the Off-World album, which was basically Richard Archer from Hard-Fi, Dale, me, Wolsey White, and Kristen, the backing singer, right? The greatest band. Album still hasn't come out, by the way, so that might come round again. Anyway, I put the drums down, and I was in the control room with Rich and Wolsey, and he was doing a bass take, right? And he just put, because you are, as a bass player, right, you're right up the top of my favourite bass players, right? Anyway, you were putting this bass line down, and we were all just looking at each other going, he's incredible, isn't he? And like, he's a really amazing. And it got to the end, and Rich went, I really hope he holds that last note. And you heard the note, and it just went, boo. And all we could hear was, it's a goal! Great goal there! We were going, what's that? He'd watched football the whole take. He had it on his phone in front of me. We all looked through the window, and he was watching the footy, and he'd forgotten to turn the volume down. So at the end of one of the tracks, I think it was like Real Madrid against Atletico or something.
Watched so much football on.
He was watching the whole thing, and every time he looked out, you go, "You ready for a take, Dale?" He'd just go, "Yeah," and his head didn't move once, and then we realised the TV was over there.
Yeah, I still do that now, and people say if it's really, I'm really bad because if people want to watch a game on stage, I'll say, I don't mind. You can do it if you want, So
bad influence. Bad influence. Yeah, football takes all of us, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but and that's the beauty of having football on your phone nowadays. So you don't.
Yeah.
You can.
We used to have those our Monday morning debriefs, didn't we, about the football?
Yes,
where I would walk the dog and he'd know what time he was going to call me every Monday, and he'd get more. This was when Arsenal weren't as good as they were now, so we used to get really irate.
You were the kings of the league.
And then to give you your dues, you've stopped doing it since you've been good, which is I think is a gloating thing, because you can see my team are sinking like a stone, and yours are rising like the cream. I think you're just being quite sweet without rubbing my nose in it.
I like to let people know if I've lost or if my team's not very good.
You're a terrible loser, man. You really are. You're
I always stick the knife in,
I used to see your name and go, like, I'd be hurting slightly because Chelsea had been beaten or something, and I go, I can't deal with Dale this morning. I can't. And then he'd kind of leave it 10 minutes and he'd ring me again. He knew I'd pick up. And I kind of, you're right. You go, yeah. And it all, full of beans. And I knew exactly why he was calling me.
I look at myself as a fair football fan, so.
You're a very intelligent football fan. I'll give you that. You do know your onions, which is, there's nothing worse than talking to someone who thinks they know about football and they don't. I find that one of the most irritating things in the world.
Yeah, I don't watch it so much now, weirdly, because it's on so much and everyone's busy. So I hardly watch any Euros. And
did you ever meet any footballers through your celebrity status?
No. Because, it depends on the artist, because a lot of the artists I work with weren't into football.
Right. Okay.
So I never meet anyone. I know people who are friends with various footballers over the time, but none of the artists that I really work with were into football. The main artists I've worked with have never been into football.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because Baz from the Stranglers was talking about Stuart Pearce and how close he is to him and everything.
Oh, yeah.
He's always at the gigs, Pearce.
But, as I said, and it's just one of those things, I mean, there's been famous people who've come to gigs that I've been at. I've met Eric Cantona. He came to a gig that we were playing. I know when we were doing the support to Tina up in Manchester. A lot of the United players came. I remember our tour manager knew Brian Robson.
All right.
And I was a very anti-United fan. And Tony said, do you want Brian Robson to come along to this thing? I went, oh.
Amazing. Did he come charging through and push
No.
everybody out of the way?
I mean, the thing is, I shouldn't have said that, but I was such a staunch Arsenal fan. You know, I was that militant about it. Militant, you know. But I really, at the end of the day, you know, I've grown a bit more mellow when it comes to that.
Right.
I talk to him now. So.
Did you know Noisy has just done Eric Cantona's new album?
You're joking?
No.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he went to France and he's done like it's a proper album, but it's kind of semi-spoken word. But he stayed in like some kind of French chateau and really got close to Cantona and because he's a bit of a culture vulture, old Noisy, isn't he? And
Eric's a very good guy though. That's the thing. I think he's very easy. But you know, when I went and got his autograph, he was very happy about it. You know?
Yeah, he was. John knows absolutely nothing about football. I don't know whether that works in his favour because they rather speak about cheese or wine or whatever. But he said, they've become friends, you know, and they've stayed friends and everything. So,
which reminds me, I played football with Phil Daniels. You know him as well, don't you?
He's great. He's great. He should be in every football discussion, Phil Daniels, because he's a staunch Chelsea man.
Yeah, I know that. But
you know.
So he's a good footballer as well. It was really funny because we'd play and people go, is that a guy off Quattrofino?
I've just tackled Jimmy. Did you ever do any of those like pro celebrity games?
I've done one, yeah, and I did one in Germany. So it was next to the Westfalenhalle, Dortmund Stadium. So it was at Dortmund, and we played. We played against a TV station, WDR, and Jim Kerr was up front with me to start off with. And there was a few other celebrities and a few other.
Jim Kerr from Simple Minds, Jim Kerr.
Yeah, so he was up front with me. Anyway,
nice forward line.
Yeah. So we won 4-3, and I scored a hat trick. One thing I didn't realise that was going on when I came off. Someone said, "Oh, I've just heard the game on the radio." And I went, "Oh, okay." And then we did the gig in the evening with the night of the proms. Got fairly mashed up, and then when I went down the following morning, they had a newspaper with the game in. Anyway. They said that they thought I was 19 because Stan Tippins from who was Simple Minds manager. You know Stan Tippins? He sung on All the Young Dudes and stuff like that. He's a tour manager and stuff like that. So anyway, I had to give him a £10 every time I scored so he could give it to the Hereford Football Club to pay the players. So that was a bet. So I gave him 30 quid for that. But I came down and there was a newspaper article. And in the article, and this is the biggest, my most weirdest thing, but my most amazing thing to me, and the thing that I can't believe has happened is that Borussia Dortmund were the world club champions at that time. They were 5th in the league and struggling. And they said Borussia Dortmund could do with Dale playing for him right now.
No way! That's amazing.
So that's the most. So being linked with Dortmund, who were world champions at the time, it gets even more bizarre. 2 days later, I'm doing a gig in Munich with the Night of the Proms. And someone hands me a token and said, "Oh yeah, it's on a TV program." So they had a sports program about the game, and there's a 15-minute compilation program. And I can't find the video because it's.
They didn't show the goals, did they?
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Oh no, the other thing that I found I forgot to say was when I went to bed the night after the game, before I went and looked at the papers the following morning, I turned on the news. Turned on the TV, and I saw myself scoring the second goal.
Did you go, "Oh man,
yeah.
I must ring Pino."
And stuff, and I thought, this is so weird. I've just seen myself score the second goal in the game. So there was a highlights program, and it's a 15 minutes highlights program.
And you can't find it?
I've got the video at home somewhere, but weirdly enough, I was in Germany just before COVID, and I was being interviewed by a guy, and I said, because we were going to do a German tour, and I spoke to this guy, and I don't know why I spoke to him. I said, I've been in Germany. I'm just trying to find this game that I played for WDR against the Night of the Proms. The guy that was interviewing me was at the game. and worked with them.
And then he was the scout. And then you started playing for Borussia Dortmund. You know.
No, but I will try and get the video from the archive, but the archive.
I'd love to see that.
It's too long. But my third goal looks a great goal. You know, you think, okay, my hat trick goal is, and I scored a goal after like 5 seconds. I just ran through and just put it in the back of the net.
Well, my football clang is the fact that I played football with Dale Davis from Borussia Dortmund on the pitch at Olympiakos in Greece. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was brilliant. When we got told off, and then
we did a gig there, and me and him got a ball, didn't we? And we were playing penalties, and then the guy came over and kicked us off the pitch, didn't he?
Yeah, and then there's that. Well, we've got photos of us being because we went to one of the interview rooms, didn't we?
Interviewing each other after the I think it was after the gig.
Yeah,
and as we were walking back to the dressing, you know those little corners where they interview the players.
Yeah.
We were just interviewing each other and all the advertisements like Mercedes Benz and all that. Dale, what did you think of the gig? Well, yeah, it was a good first half performance. Steady. You know, and it was hilarious.
At one point, so. I know.
Amazing, man. Yeah, I'll always remember that.
So I want to ask you one more clang-oriented question. Was like, have you ever had one of those experiences with the one that got away? That one that you didn't do that you wished you had done, whether it's, you know, whether a celebrity you've narrowly missed, or that gig that you didn't quite get that you missed.
So meeting Jimmy Cliff in Hammersmith, he was staying in a hotel in Hammersmith, and I went in there, and just as I was leaving, he was walking in, and I went, shit, that's. You know, he's one of my idols, and I missed him. But I know guys who've worked with him, but that's one of the things that comes to mind. There's been so many others, I think. The nearly misses on records and stuff like that. I was like Spinning Around by Kylie Minogue. I was up to do that, and then I remember Mike Spencer, the producer, I said, he said, how much do you want? And I said, well, I asked for a figure. He said, no, that's too much. I said, okay, well, I'll do it for that figure, but can you chuck in a dinner? And by all accounts, he thought that, why am I taking out dinner? And I said, no, all I wanted was money for my food, but...
You thought you needed wining and dining.
Yeah, so he took it all wrong, but then he got Winston Blissett in, and, you know, to be fair, Winston done a fantastic job of that song, so...
Oh, man, you were nearly on a Kylie track. Come on.
Well, I'm not necessarily a fan of hers anyway, but I mean, should I say that?
Amazing, man. Amazing. Well, we're going to have to wrap you up. I hate to say it, Mr. Davis. It's been great. I never thought I'd have so much fun sitting next to two bass players. Right. It's been a pleasure, man.
The way I see it on my screen, the way we've got the thing set up, which this won't make any sense at all to people that are watching it, but because it's split into 3 screens where I'm watching it, you're sat between 2 bass players.
Oh man, it's drummer's delight, isn't it? You two,
exactly.
It's like gorgeous stereo.
Or actually, probably sat between a bass player and somebody who kind of pretends that.
Yeah, 2 of my favourite bass players. You're all right. Dale, you're a ledge, man. Let's give me a shout when you're yourself next, and we'll hook the boys up for the Staines Massive night out. We'll invite Pete.
It's weird because I'm going down that way this week, but I've got to be at Festival for 1:30 on the Saturday. Otherwise, I'd have passed in.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, just let us know if you're going to be down, and I'll give Rich and Wills a shout, and we'll.
Yeah. I need to get down to Reading, and then at that point go to.
All right. So make sure you give us a shout then, dude.
I will do. All the best, Pete, all the best, Smiley, and thanks for this.
Lovely those, mate. Great to see you again.
Been great. It's been good fun.
Okay,
see you, mate.
Clang the Podcast.